You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 459. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. Tony Robbins.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, how to turn your independent film into a profitable business. It's harder today than ever before for independent filmmakers to make money with their films. From predatory film distributors ripping them off to huckster film aggregators who prey upon them, the odds are stacked against the indie filmmaker. The old distribution model of making money with your film is broken, and there needs to be a change. The future of independent filmmaking is the entrepreneurial filmmaker or the filmtrepreneur. In Rise of the Filmtrepreneur, I break down how to actually make money with your film projects and show you how to turn your indie film into a profitable business. With case studies examining successes and failures, this book shows you the step-by-step method to turn your passion into a profitable career. If you're making a feature film, series, or any other kind of video content, the Filmtrepreneur method will set you up for success. The book is available in paperback, ebook, and of course, audiobook. If you want to order it, just head over to www.filmbizbook.com. That's filmbizbook.com. Now, guys, before we get started, I wanted to announce that we will be doing our New Year's sale over at IFH Academy. It's going to be a pretty big sale, and we've got a bunch of new courses and workshops, including the art of improv indie filmmaking. If you ever wanted to learn how Mark Duplass and Joe Swansberg and those kind of guys do their kind of scriptment-based stories and films, I've got a great course there for you. And I'm very proud to announce that IFH Academy has teamed up with the legendary James V. Hart, the screenwriter of Hook, Dracula, Contact, and many other films, to be an instructor for IFH Academy with his new course, The Heart Chart Screenwriting Masterclass, where he goes over how to emotionally track all of your characters throughout the film. It is something that he developed with Francis Ford Coppola when he was making Bram Stoker's Dracula, and has been using it for years in his writing, and has been kind of like this little secret story system that he's been sharing with his screenwriting colleagues in Hollywood. But now he's put it all together in this masterclass. So those two plus a few others, and we got a lot of other stuff coming as well at IFH Academy. So if you want to check that out, head over to ifhacademy.com. We will be launching that sale on January 11th on Monday. Now, today's guest is legendary, literally legendary, because it is actor, writer, director, and producer Kevin Sorbo. Kevin was the star of one of the most watched shows in the world in the mid-90s called Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. During that time, he accepted his first leading role in a fantasy action feature, Kull the Conquerer, who is Conan's father for Universal Studios. He also helped spin off Xena Warrior Princess and has worked on just so many movies over the years. It's quite impressive. I even got to work with Kevin on a film called Abel's Field, where I was a colorist and post-production supervisor years ago. In this conversation, we talk about what he looks for as an actor in independent films, because he is one of the most sought-after indie film actors out there, what it was like to be one of the biggest stars in the world during his Hercules and Andromeda series days, and a very interesting look inside the vicious world that is Hollywood. We discuss how he was a victim of Hollywood accounting and was never paid the back end promised to him on Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. This was an eye-opening conversation with Kevin, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. So without any further ado, please enjoy my eye-opening and entertaining conversation with Kevin Sorbo. I'd like to welcome to the show Kevin Sorbo. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Alex?
Good, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I'm a fan, and believe it or not, we've worked together beyond that you didn't even know. But I actually worked on 2 of your films. One of them being Abel's Field, where I was the colorist and the post supervisor.
Wow!
On Abel's Field.
I love that movie. That movie deserved a theatrical. You know, it's weird with these independent movies. It's luck of the draw. It's about P&A. It's about word of mouth. But you know, we got a big battle. We're battling the Hollywood giant studios. But that's a really good movie. It was a
fun movie. I love the director. I love the producer. They did get picked up by Sony eventually, so I know it did at least get some sort of good release. And then I worked on another movie. I forgot. It was you in a jungle fighting a monster of some sort. I forgot the name of it. This is years ago. And I was the colorist on that one as well. It was in Louisiana.
So Louisiana. Being in the jungle fighting a monster. It sounds like Hercules, but I shot that for 7 years.
No, it was not. It was definitely not Hercules. It was another movie. I'll find it. I was actually looking it up before our interview. I'm like, I couldn't find it in my. I got a lot of credits in my thing, so I was just kind of looking like where it is. And I know they changed the name afterwards. And anyway, but I have you on. I've had you on my demo reel for a while back in the day when I was color grading. But I was a fan of yours since the beginning. But let me just start off the interview with, how did you get into the business?
I'm a really small town in Minnesota, about 7,000 people in it. We're about 25 miles west of Minneapolis. It's called Mound, Minnesota. It's on the beautiful shores of Lake Minnetonka. And so get the name Lake, think Minnetonka. We were home to Tonka Toys. That was the industry in my little town. Employed 25% of the population there. But we went to the Guthrie Theater, and the Guthrie Theater is a very famous theater in Minneapolis. In fact, a lot of actors out of Broadway start there. A lot of things start there before they move. Like Lion King, for instance, was there before they moved it to Broadway. So we went 11 years old. We went to see The Merchant of Venice. It was a field trip with my elementary school. I was 11. I don't know what the hell they were saying because it was Shakespeare, but I was mesmerized by it all. And on the way home, I told my mom, I said, I'm going to be an actor. And she said, "Is that right?" She goes, "Well, that's nice, dear." And I kept it quiet because being a thespian where I came from, we made fun of those people in the drama class. I was a jock. I was a football, basketball, baseball guy. So I had to hide in that closet, so to speak, until I got into college, where I had a double major in business, but I took a minor in drama. Minneapolis really offered a lot of great things for me, because a lot of people don't realize that Minneapolis is national headquarters to 3M, Honeywell, Pillsbury, General Mills, Target, Best Buy. So all these companies based out there did all their commercials back in the day there. So I got that all-important Screen Actors Guild card by doing commercials all through college.
That's when I was in Florida. The actors I worked with, they were just dying to get to get that SAG card, and that's how. And many of them got them just by doing that commercial. Like, oh my God, I'm SAG eligible now because I got this commercial. So it is a hustle being an actor. There is no doubt about it.
Look, I had a double major, marketing and advertising. I tell people I market and advertise myself, because you are your own product in this industry, and you got to get out there. And most of the time I tell people that want to get a business, they go, "What's it like?" And I go, "I'll get ready for, a lot of doors being slammed in your face," because rejection is the main thing of Hollywood. So, it's a matter of getting out there. I remember I did a lot of commercials. I'm one of the few guys I know that I befriended when I moved out there, because I didn't know anybody. I already had the SAG card. I already had the commercial agent, because I sent my reel out to the commercial agents that I, found out about, and they all signed me because, I had a good reel already. I already had like 40 commercials on there, and so they knew my face from commercials, so that wasn't a problem. I never had to work another job. Between 1986 and 1992, I shot over 100 commercials.
Wow, you were an actual working actor.
I was a working actor, and in between that was, it enabled me to do the really good acting classes. I studied with Roy London, for instance. Roy, that class alone, I had Matthew Perry was in that class with me. Brad Pitt was in that class with me.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Charlotte Ross. I mean, some really good people that went on to do, obviously, had really good careers. So it enabled me to study and not have to like miss things because of work or something like that. And I remember my commercial agent one time, I called up because, once you start to get to know people, hey man, there's one for Coca-Cola. You hear about that one? And so I'd call my agent all the time. Hey, what about this one? And my commercial agent said to me one time, Kevin, I got 100 other clients, and I said, I don't give a crap about your other clients. Do you think they care about me? My mantra was, let me have the opportunity to be rejected. That's what I said. Let me at least go in there. I'm willing to drive in this crap hole traffic of Los Angeles to do and wait an hour before they see me for my 2-minute little audition scene. Let me have the chance to get turned down. I mean, I treated it like a business. I really pounded the pavement.
Now, I've been directed for a long time, and I've obviously done a lot of auditions, and we as filmmakers get a tremendous amount of rejection, but it pales in comparison to the immense amount of rejection that actors have to deal with on a day. I mean, sometimes being rejected 4, 5, 6 times a day if they get to that many auditions. How did you deal with rejection? Because I'm assuming, you were a working actor, but I'm assuming for those 100 or so commercials, you probably went out for 2,000 of them.
Oh, sure. I lived in Santa Monica, right in Ocean Park Boulevard. I was right in the Venice border. And to deal with rejection, I went and pumped iron every day at Gold's Gym and either biked or rollerbladed down to Manhattan back every day. Otherwise, I think I would have gone postal on people. You really have to find an outlet. And I think being that jock I used to be, that outlet was amazing for me. And I needed it. And I also played. I had 6 years. I was in 3 basketball leagues. So I was playing basketball 3 times. We had one in Pasadena, one in Northridge, and one in Beverly Hills. So I was playing hoops all the time. So I was always physically staying active to burn off that frustration.
Because it's absolutely frustrating to say the least.
Look, I got down the last 2 guys for Lois and Clark. It was Dean Cain and myself. Dean's a very dear friend of mine. He's a great guy, and we both did our auditions, our screen test with Terry Hatcher, who already had the role. And that night, my manager called. She got the role, Kevin. That was when Lorimar Studios used to be in Warner Brothers there. They're gone now. But I think Les Moonves was the president there before he moved to CBS.
Right.
So they called me. You got the role. I got excited. We went and partied. And then the next day, they said, they changed their mind. They're going Dean Cain. And I was like, kidding me. So the absolute highs of acting, lows. It's a very frustrating business. But ultimately, 3 months later, I did book the role of Hercules. And as I love to tell Dean, my show went for 7 seasons down in New Zealand, around the world, 176 countries, became the most watched TV show in the world. And you got canned after 3 seasons. So I'm okay with it.
It all worked out for everybody.
It worked out for me. Dean's a great guy. We've done a couple movies together, and we got another one we want to do together next year. We're trying to raise money for right now.
Now, what is the one thing you wish you would have known when you started in the business?
I wasn't surprised how political it is. I wasn't surprised how crazy it is, because I knew enough about it. And even just in the commercial world, in a smaller place like Minneapolis, St. Paul, which really isn't that small. It's pretty big around there too. But I had a hard dealing with the backstabbing that came from your own agents and your own managers that you found out about later. I remember one time I was in talking to my commercial agent, and a good buddy of mine and I just finished golfing. Mm-hmm. And I stopped by and say, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And right next to me, I heard the booker from my buddy say, oh, Court's out of town right now, but I got a much better person for the role anyway. And I stood up and I said, I just got off the golf course with Court. I busted him. And I told, and this happens all the time. It's amazing to me. And also, when you sign, I got very lucky. I had 2 series, Hercules and Andromeda. So I had 12 straight years of 2 series. I had the lead in them. And both of them, one went 7 years, one went 5 years. And the percentage of you get in the second season is very rare. Mm-hmm. So, but the amazing thing is how corrupt the industry is, because you've heard it before, the creative accounting. Oh. They had to it. They admit to it. A back end deal on your series or movie means you're going to take it in the back end. That's really what it comes down to.
That's great. That's actually a really great term.
I spent 9 years of my lawsuit for my back end on Hercules with Andromeda, and ultimately ended up getting throwing out. And I find out that the judge behind it all was in the back pocket of the studio already the whole time. And my man, I had really big entertainment lawyers, big ones that handled like the big name actors out there. And they said to me, well, I said, why can't they just be honest? And he said, well, it's the price of doing business. Really? The price of doing business is try to screw you over. When Titanic was the first movie to make $1 billion back in 1997?
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger gets up in front of an audience of 2 billion people around the world and says, here's a movie even the studio won't be able to hide the profits in. And you got a lot of nervous laughter from those first 10 rows of all the bigwigs that run the whole frickin' world, But it's amazing to me how corrupt the industry is. And it's pretty open about it.
Oh, and it's something I've been yelling and screaming up from the top of the lungs, trying to warn filmmakers about, because, and I've seen it, like, working on post for such a long time on films like Abel's Field and things like that. I hear it from the producers. I hear what's going on with distribution and the Hollywood accounting and all of that kind of, I remember I had a conversation with a distributor on a film of mine, and he actually told me, he goes, well, I was asking him, like, why is the check so small, or where is this check coming from? Or like, I got a check, but where, no reporting. I didn't know what it was from. I'm like, thank you for this little money, but I like, what is it? And he's like, what are you complaining about? You got a check. Most filmmakers don't even get a check.
Yeah.
So nonchalant about it. It was just like, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. It was so nonchalant. I was like, oh my God, this is completely entrenched information.
If you get into a second season and third season of a TV series, trust me, they're making money, and they're making big money. And behind closed doors, they will each admit it. I've golfed with these guys, and they sit there and go, yeah, it is kind of what goes on in the business. But he goes, oh, yeah, I made money on that right away. But, certain people get paid and other people don't get paid, because you got to play that Hollywood game. And I'm not a very good player at that stupid game. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a Hollywood guy. Mm-hmm. But I love being on the set. I love making movies. I love doing TV series. I still get very excited when I'm working. I love doing it, and I'm gonna hopefully, thank God for independent movies. I'm still able to keep a career going.
Now, with Hercules, how did you get involved with Hercules? Because if I'm not mistaken, it started off with it was like movies first, right? And then it turned into a series. Yeah,
we did 5 2-hour movies for it. When my agent called me on this one, I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'3", and back then I weighed around 225. I'm 210 now because I'm getting older. It's hard to keep the muscle mass on. Still working out every day, though. But when I got the call, I thought, all right, I'm athletic. I played sports. I work out all the time. I lift weights all the time. But I told them, aren't they going to want some, 280-pound, no-neck, bodybuilder type? I said, no. What they're looking for is a guy that looks like he's an NFL quarterback or maybe a decathlon guy. And I said, okay, that's interesting. So I read the sides. I went in and read for it at Universal. About a week and a half later, they called me back in again. Another week and a half later, they called me back in again. Another week. They called me in 7 times over like 2.5 months.
Wow.
And on the very last time, I went to a big building there at right off of the 101, that Universal.
Yeah.
As you
the big tower?
Pull in, the big black tower is right in the highway. I call it the building where actors go to die. But I went in there. I was down to the last 3 guys, and Sam Raimi was our executive producer. Mm-hmm. So I get in there. I'm on the stage, and there was like 30 people in there. They're all, whoever's going to make this decision for this TV series. There's all the men and women that have all the power at Universal to decide what TV shows get picked up and which ones don't.
Right.
So I got on stage and I said, you guys have brought me in here a lot. I appreciate it. I signed the contract because now you're down to the last 3. They're going to make a decision. Right. So we signed that 5.5-year contract in case it goes more than one, turns into something more. And I said, you guys never give me any direction here. Is there some way you want me to do this? And, I'm looking at Mr. Raimi. He says, no, we like what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. So I read again with the actress. And then they said, that's great. That's great. Okay. Sam hits the woman next to her. She goes, oh, yeah. I need you to, I have to ask you to take your shirt off, please.
Right.
And if you watch the show, I was in good shape. So I took my shirt off, and there was a few audible, oh my, sort of gasps in the audience. And then being the smartass that I am, I said, well, I'm a lot bigger out of my clothes. So
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Sam says to me, Raimi says, so if you get the role, Kevin, would you be willing to, shave your stomach and chest? I'm not like Robin Williams, like 7 inches of growth, but I got a little man cover there.
Sure.
And he said, would you be willing to shave it? And I went, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted a man for this role. And I started walking off the stage. They got a big laugh from everybody.
Wow.
And I said, thank you all. And I left. And the next day I flew to Vancouver to Mike Chiklis' series, The Commish. Mm-hmm. So the third day on the set, like one of the PAs come up, oh, you have to call your manager. So I call my manager, Beverly Dean, and Beverly says, you got the role. You're going to be Hercules. You're going to do 5 tour movies. You're going down to New Zealand and blah, blah, blah. She was all excited. I walked back on the set and I looked at Chiklis and I said, I don't want any crap from you. I'm half God now. I went down there. Actually, for the next 2 months, I pumped a little harder, put another 5 pounds of muscle on, and I trained with Douglas Wong. Douglas Wong was one of Bruce Lee's original students.
Oh, yes.
And we went 6 days. Oh, great guy. We went. He developed a thing called the White Lotus Kung Fu method, or whatever it was. But he taught me all kinds of weapons. We worked like 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for 2 months. I go to New Zealand. Who do they book opposite me to play Zeus but Anthony Quinn? So I get a whole year working with Anthony Quinn.
Holy cow.
And if your listeners don't know who he is, shame on you.
Yes. Please, everyone, just Google Anthony Quinn. Please.
People need in this industry, they need to get schooled on the people that were there before us. And this is a guy that was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. He won twice. So it was halfway through the 3rd movie where something happened on the set with Michael Hurst, who played my sidekick Eolus. And the whole crew laughed up, just cracked up. And I looked at him, because we ad-libbed in the show, not to make writers mad, but we would ad-lib stuff and they could take it up if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I looked at Michael and I said, this show's going to get picked up as a series. He goes, you think so? I said, yeah, because there's nothing like it on TV right now. There's nothing like this. It has this big a scope with the cinematography. I mean, it was New Zealand. It was beautiful. The wardrobes we had, the fight scenes that we did, the monsters that we had. And sure enough, by the end of the 3rd movie, Universal said, we love what we see. We haven't released anything yet. We're still cutting the first 3 movies, but you're going to stay down there. We're going to make this a TV series. And so by our season 3, not only did we spin off the female sort of Hercules version with Xena, Warrior Princess, that same season, you know how Hollywood is. If something's hot, they all copy it. Xena came out, another female thing. Robin Hood, Tarzan, Sinbad, Conan, all these other shows came out to sort of copy what we were doing. And by season 3, we did pass Baywatch as the most watched TV show in the world, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. And you guys were shooting in New Zealand before it was in vogue. It was before It was before Lord of the Rings, right?
Way before Lord. Peter Jackson used to come on the set to see how the crew was developing, because we shot from 1993 through the end of 1999. I was down there for 7 years. And we had Peter would come on to see how the crew was developing, because all during that decade, he was writing all 3 movies of Lord of the Rings. And when we wrapped, he took 80% of my crew. He took all the stunt guys. He took our camera team. We took John Mahaffey and Peter McCaffrey, the camera guys, were just amazing. John Mahaffey ended up doing second unit directing on all those things, plus all the Spider-Man movies after that. But Nyla Dixon won the Academy Award for Best Wardrobe for Lord of the Rings. I always told my crew, I said, it's ridiculous. If they don't want to nominate us for a Golden Globe or an Emmy, fine, for acting, whatever like that. But to not look at us for cinematography, there's nothing on TV that looked as beautiful as this show. And for our wardrobe, and I was sort of like, okay, she ended up winning the Academy Award for the wardrobe on Lord of the Rings. She should have got a Golden Globe or Emmy on my show, because the wardrobe on my show in Xena was amazing. Right. And our stunt guys were just incredible as well. So I don't know. It's the politics of the business once again, because we were a first-run syndicated show. We weren't a network show. So they just they didn't want to pay attention to us, even though we had higher ratings than most shows on networks. And
it was funny, because I really never heard of, and maybe you can tell me if this happened before, but a studio doing a 5-movie deal first, then roll it into a series. Has that been done before?
Well, here's why that happened. It was called the Action Pack Wheel, where they had 4 other shows doing movies. We were the only ones that did 5 movies because they loved what the show looked like. The other ones did 4. You had Tech Wars that Shatner was producing. Mm-hmm. You had Midnight Run, where they took that movie that Charles Grodin and De Niro did, which is such a great movie.
It is.
They had BJ and the Bear, and they had Vanishing Sun, this karate thing. Okay, so we were the only one that. It was funny because Sid Sheinberg was the president of Universal at the time, and I remember it was around season 3, and I was back home at the Universal Christmas party, and he comes up to me and says, "You know, I got to be honest with you. When they came up with these action wheel, we just figured Hercules would be the first to go, and you're the only one that's still around." So it shows you how much they don't know. It's just like throwing spaghetti against the bloody wall and see what sticks. But it's funny how. What I was going to say is back in the 70s they had McMillan and Wife and McCloud, and they had all these 2-hour rotating shows that would go on every Wednesday night, and I think that's what they're trying to copy again with this Action Pack, but it just didn't take off. I don't know what happened to Tech Wars and why that didn't work, but we were the only ones that ended up surviving, which is great.
I mean, to be fair, on paper it does not sound like if you would sell, we're going to do Tech Wars, we're going to do Hercules. Like Hercules is one of those stories that has just obviously been beaten to death forever because it's one of the older stories around. But yet you couldn't quantify the magic of the chemistry of what you did and what the writers did, what the directing team did, production team, everything. It's just that whole soup is not on the paper.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us do what Sam Raimi's brand though too. I mean, they love the quirky humor and breaking the fourth wall like Gilligan's Island or something. I mean, every time I even turn my head, they put a big sound effect on. In the fight scenes, I love doing the fight scenes. We did 3 every episode basically, and Peter Bell, our stunt choreographer, would let me work with. I mean, we would sit there and we shot like 8 to 10 day episodes. So I was down in New Zealand 10 months a year. That was home for me for 7 years. So when we were not shooting a fight scene that day, we'd still be rehearsing. I'd go in and block a scene, then I'd go 50 meters away with the stunt guys to rehearse what the next, fight scene is going to be. And we always try to put in funny stuff. Like if I would throw a guy 100 meters and he lands, they put a wire rig on him, he lands in a cow pie in a pasture somewhere. And then I kick a sword out of one guy's hand and flies through the air. We always make sure as that flies through the air, make sure that guy's getting back up and that sword hits him in the back of the head and knocks him back in the cow pie. The whole thing, in a bar fight, I throw a guy out the bar, through the wall, and it's the cut-out body of his, the hole in the wall is his cut-out body. And fans love that stuff. And it was corny, it was cheesy, but it was done that way on purpose because we knew with a show like this, we want people to laugh with us and not laugh at us. It worked.
Yeah, you had to do a little tongue in cheek. I mean, if you would have done it dead serious, I think it probably would have not.
I said tongue firmly planted in cheek when I talked about it.
And to go back to what you were saying earlier, you had to actually fight for back end participation on all that stuff for Hercules.
Believe it or not, after 7 years, they were going to do seasons 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
I got approached by Majel Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's widow, to do the first show ever created by Gene Roddenberry after the original Star Trek series back in 1969. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Star Trek, it wasn't Enterprise, it wasn't the Next Generation, it was actually Andromeda. And my captain, Captain Dylan Hunt, was the first captain ever created for Captain Kirk. So she came to me and said, boom. They gave me a 2-year guarantee, 44 episode pay or play. If the show didn't even go, they're going to pay me for 44 episodes.
Holy cow.
At the salary that I was being offered for season 8 on Hercules per episode. It was a mafia deal, too good to turn down. Yeah. And I'm a Star Trek fan to begin with. Sure. And Universal wasn't that mad about it because they own the Sci-Fi Channel anyway. So I was still part of that family. But because I didn't sign 8, 9, and 10, I think it was like a screw you to me. And it's amazing what they will do to juggle the books. They said, oh, we lost so much money on the show. Like, what do you mean you lost money? I knew they were making money. By season 2, season 3, they're making big money. But they can say whatever they want. And if they own the court systems, it's amazing to me how corrupt the system is. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. I know guys that did other series that didn't get paid on their back end either. I knew James Garner. I used to golf with the late James Garner.
Yeah. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
And I was a big fan of Rockford Files.
Yeah.
He had to fight 13 years for his back end deal. 13 years. They go, we didn't make any money from Rockford File. It's unbelievable what these guys do. And they say, it's just part of doing business. Well, no, it's not. Just be honest. But there's no honesty and integrity. It's gone, and it's sad that a battle. So I never got paid my back end.
Oh my God, that's insane.
They had Sam Raimi and Rob Tapper's contracts down there during the negotiations, during the moderation. Mine's next to theirs. My lawyer says their definitions are identical when you paid those guys. One lawyer from that studio said, well, all depends how you want to define the word definition. And that's when I said to the moderator, we better go to different rooms right now because I'm about to go across this table and probably do something that's going to hurt this guy. So
wow.
It's amazing what they'll do. So, and I'm a Midwest guy. To me, a handshake's as good as a contract. But,
sure.
You'll see how thick the contracts are in Hollywood with all the double talk. And, it's like Washington, D.C., right? They had a 5,000-page bill the other day, and they said you got 6 hours to read it.
Yeah, they do that constantly, all the time. They do stuff like that. It's so then. But if you would have played ball and gotten 7, 8, and 9 signed, that might have been different for you. Is what they're saying?
Who knows?
No one knows.
I don't think it would have been a difference. I know guys that didn't get paid in their back ends. Other shows, I won't name them, but they came back and said, "Hey, we want to do a movie out of this," and they said, "Forget it." And then they got paid their back end all of a sudden to do the movie. So
basically, if they want something from you, you can give them more money somewhere else. Generally, they'll play ball. Like the Rockford File thing is insane. That's insane. Rockford File was a huge. I mean, what, the 13 seasons? 13 seasons.
I don't know in 13 seasons, but he took him 13 years to fight it.
Oh yeah,
I think they got 7 years out of it or 8 years out of it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. But still,
13 years before he got paid.
And he did finally get paid.
He finally got paid.
Jeez.
Yeah. But how much money did they make on the money they owed him for over those 13 years?
Oh, of course. No, it is. Aren't you happy you're in a business?
Hollywood. It's amazing. It's not the city of angels. It's a city of broken dreams. But
no question.
It's a business that I think you'll agree, doesn't matter what side of the cam you're on.
Yeah.
It's a business you want to be involved in.
Especially and the more I've figured this out in my tenure in the business is the more control you have over the product, the distribution, the creation yourself, the better chance you have to actually get paid.
That's why I'm doing my own stuff now, So, but I don't think anybody gets in the business and say like an actor. Well, I didn't really want to be an actor; it just sort of happened. Okay, right. It's like these supermodels that say, "I never really want to be a model." Yeah, you were just a hot babe that everybody was gawking at all the time. But I don't know. Somebody took my picture and paid me $10,000
an hour. So I'm like, why not?
Why not? Okay, I believe that.
Now, can you explain something? Because obviously Hercules and Andromeda, you have fans. You have really passionate sci-fi fans. And what can you explain to people what it's like to actually be at Comic-Con and to meet your fans? Because I've been on both sides of the table. I've been getting the autograph and I've also given the autograph, and it is a really interesting experience. Can you and I can only imagine what it's like for someone like you. So can you explain that to people?
It makes a difference if the show is current as well. I still do Comic-Cons. I still get invited to a lot of them. This year sucked. Of course, I pick out about 8 a year, even though I probably get invited worldwide to maybe 30. Mm-hmm. So I pick up, I've never been there. I want to do that one again. That was good. But Hercules and Andromeda are still out there, and there's still fans out there with it. But when it's current, it's more rabid. It's more insane because I'm there as Hercules. I come back for my 2 months, then I'm back home in the States before I head back down for the next season. And so I still got the long hair. I still got the look. And you sit across a table and people they're nervous.
They're shaking. Yeah.
They're shaking. They're scared. I've had a couple women faint at the table.
Wow.
It's crazy. But now, because it's like those people now are in their 30s, They're the age I was when I filmed it during all my 7 years in my 30s, and now they got kids, so they're showing it to their kids. And there's more. It's just kind of a nostalgic thing for them now to see me and meet with me. But their kids are the ones with so open eyes. But I love doing them. I have a blast doing them. I'm a golf nut, so I'll golf every con I go to. I find a course, so I'll let me tee off at 7 in the morning. I golf fast. I'll do 18 holes in less than 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I go to the con and hang out, and we go to dinner with some of the other actors. Like going to dinner with Shatner is just a hoot, man. Fans will come up to me during dinner, and I'm cool about it. Shatner's like, he won't take any of them. He's just like, he goes, I'm eating, okay? You want to talk to me? Come to the con tomorrow or something, you know? And I sort of get that too, because I've been sleeping on an airplane. I've had people wake me up.
No.
I mean, you see I'm sleeping, and hey, can I get a picture with you? we're sleeping here, you know?
Are you kidding?
No,
wow.
No. But most people are really cool. You get the people that hate you too. I mean, when I got married, I had female fans right in. Well, I hope people watch your show now. So they got mad I got married. I guess they thought if they sent me a picture of them in a bra or something, I'd end up marrying them. I don't know.
Right. It was that dream, that hope that he's not married yet. So there's still a hope that I might, just maybe.
But I don't know. But most fans are pretty cool. I got to say, most people, especially now with the movies I do, a lot of family friendly movies like Abel's Field with movies I call with a good message in there and stuff. So I know I've lost some fans with that. You know, I'm heavy on Twitter and social media, and I post the truth. And like Jack Nicholson says, you can't handle the truth, and a lot of people can't. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe whatever being fed them on the internet, because if it's on the internet, it must be true. So.
Well, I mean, that's the law. Isn't it? I mean, it's just, if it's on the internet, it has to be true. Now, there was a movie that you did called Kull the Conqueror.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it seemed to me that was in the middle of the Hercules, not firestorm, but in the hurricane that was Hercules, and it was a Universal project. So I think they were kind of, please correct me, they were kind of grooming you for something at that point. Can you talk a little bit about Kull?
Yeah, I mean, Rafaela De Laurentiis called me up, and she's Dino's daughter, and she worked on she produced, I think all three of the Conan movies. Kull was Conan's father in the books and also in the comic books. And they sent me the script, and I knew it was in that vein of Hercules, but it was much more violent, much more sexual. And they were worried about me offending my Hercules fans. I was not. I wanted to do the way the script was written, which was much darker than what we ultimately shot. Mm-hmm. But they made that R movie a PG-13, and a kind of a light PG-13, really. We had a lot of humor in there as well, which I love humor in everything. I love the humor and all that stuff. But they were kind of grooming me to sort of take over, not really take over Arnold, but do the next thing, because I had another movie right after that I was supposed to start filming as well, but that fell apart because of an illness that I suffered. And but it was a bummer that I wasn't able to continue with it. But Kull was fun. It did okay. They opened on Labor Day weekend, which is just stupid, and I knew it was stupid. I told my manager, I said, we got to fight this. This is dumb. I mean, I know what the numbers are. People have gone to movies all summer long, and now Labor Day weekend is. Most schools have been open for a week or two, and people are done going to movies. And I said, this is a Thanksgiving movie. Please wait. And Universal wouldn't listen. And so the movie did okay. It's done very well in reruns, in DVD sales. And because every time I go to an autograph shows, Comic-Con shows, I get at least 30 or 40 people that come up to have me autograph the DVD. So I know it's out there and people like it. And it's funny you just mention it, because I was at the gym just yesterday with my son here, and there's two people that came up and they brought that up. What cracks me up is I did the last season of the OC, and I'll meet these women, they're college girls. Oh, I loved you on the OC. So I got 250 episodes between Hercules and Andromeda. They know nothing about that, but they know those 8 episodes on the OC.
It must be. I mean, as an actor with such a fan base, and you've done so much in your career. I mean, can you just? We talked a little bit about it earlier, but for people to understand what it's like to kind of walk in your shoes, like when you walk out in public, you do get recognized. And because, Hercules was, like you said, one of the biggest shows in the world. And I'm assuming this is worldwide. I'm sure you probably have stories that you were somewhere in Europe one day and and people just walk up to you like Hercules, and or they go Hercules,
Eddie Murphy. Yes.
Exactly. But what is that like? Because I mean, I'm never going to have that experience. So I'm just curious if you could share a little bit of that. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
People, like I said, people are really nice about it. Last year, I had 3 Comic-Cons in a row in Europe, one weekend after the other. I looked at my wife and I said, I got three teenage kids, 2 boys and a girl. And I said, let's take the kids. Let's go spend a month in Europe. Thank God it wasn't this year because it all would have been canceled.
Right.
So it was a year and a half ago already. So I had one in Vienna, one in Munich, and one up in Brussels. And so
amazing.
When I graduated college, I went to Europe to spend 3 months. I ended up living in Europe for 3.5 years. So before I moved to LA, I stayed in Europe. I was with an agent in Milan, agent up in Munich, in Zurich, in Hamburg, London. So I shot a bunch of commercials when I was in Europe as well. So I loved being there. It made me grow up. As this 22-year-old kid, it made me grow up and really, I'm in a different country, different language, different culture. And it was really good for me to do it. It's a different world over there now, but it was great back then. So to take the kids back there was amazing. And to go back and walk through the old, I lived in Munich for like a year and a half, to walk back my old neighborhood and go out wherever we went out. It was like, oh my gosh, it's Hercules or Andromeda. It was all of that in every city we went to outside of the Comic-Con. Of course, the Comic-Con brings in those crowds, right. But just walking the streets, it happens every day. I mean, of course, now I get to wear a mask when I'm walking around, but you have to hide yourselves, and we can breathe our own, carbon monoxide, which is great.
Yes.
But it happens every day through airports and hotels. But what's interesting now, most of the time, it's about my family-friendly movies, like What If, God's Not Dead, Let There Be Light, Abel's Field. It's those kind of movies that people stop me now more than anything else, which is pretty amazing.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome. Now, when you're working with a director, what do you look for in a director when you're working with one?
I want him to let me do whatever the hell I want. That's what
I know all. Stop it. Just let me do me.
It's I love the blocking process. I do love blocking. I don't want to go out there and I like to rehearse with the actors off, when you guys are setting up lights. Some actors want to do it. Some don't. They want to be more spontaneous with it or something like that. It's fine. Everybody's got their sort of little approach at things. But I want the words to be secondary, right? I want to be in there. I want to be the Meisner technique. I'm working off you. You're working off me. But like I said earlier, if there's any chance for humor in there, I want to throw in humor. So I talk to the writers all the time. On Hercules, we were always 3 scripts ahead. So in between setups too, I'd be on the set phone calling back to LA because the writers were in LA. They weren't with us there. And I say, hey, I'm looking at, this episode we're shooting in 3 weeks. I don't get this, or I love this part here. Can we expand on that? So I'm always open to work with the writers. I'm always open to work with the directors. In all the years I've been involved in business, I think it's only a handful of directors that were really kind of a pain in the ass, that were just tough to deal with. And it wasn't just me. It was with everybody.
Sure.
And but for the most part, I've been very fortunate. And even all the actors I've worked with, there was only one person in all the years on Hercules, I'm not going to name his name, that was really a pain in the butt when he came down to guest star on the show. And he was a pain in the butt for everybody and dangerous in the fight scene, and that's why actors think that, look, I'm a good athlete. I know I am, and I'm good at fight scenes. And all the fight scenes I did in Hercules, which would be, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of them, I only hit one stunt guy, physically hurt him. And it was because he went past his mark when I throw an elbow behind me, because I'm throwing an elbow without looking as I'm fighting guys up here.
Sure.
And he went 2 feet past his mark, and I busted his nose. I mean, it was blood. His eyes were, blood. And I'm going, Cliff, I'm sorry. He goes, it's my fault, man. It's my fault. He's walking away from me. But I felt horrible about it. And I know, I've heard stories of Steven Seagal hurting guys all the time on the set.
Right.
And I said, no, do that. We found other actors, their ego is, well, I can do this. And I agree with Harrison Ford where he said, I don't like fighting actors because I'm doing it all the time and these guys are not. But their ego is, well, I can do this. And that's the time I would tell my stunt guy, Sam, come on in. You're taking over for this one, because it just wasn't worth it for me to get hurt, because I got hurt enough on that show just doing stuff the way it was. And, that was my ego that wanted me to do my own stunts, but I just had fun doing it. I love doing it.
And now, and I know you've worked on every scope of production from, indie budgets to multi-million-dollar budgets. How do you deal as an actor with difficult production environments? Because I've involved in difficult production environments when I'm not the director, and I just watch to see how, and I can only imagine, like, on the production side it's tough enough, but if you're the actor in front of the camera and you're the star, how do you deal with, not to say incompetence, but maybe, ego, things like that? What do you do as an actor? Especially, it also depends, I guess, where you are in your career at that point too.
Yeah. Well, I think the best thing to do when you reach those points, which thankfully for me, I didn't have it a lot in the career that spanned 35 years now. You take those people aside one-on-one. I don't never want to embarrass people in front of the crew. I don't want to. To me, I don't care if I'm acting or if I'm directing on it. I like to have a fun set, and I love to work fast. I believe in Clint Eastwood's mentality. You're an actor, you come in prepared. You're on the camera team, you come in prepared. Clint does 2 takes and they move on. 1 if he's happy with it, and he's used to people coming in. And I'll whisper to directors. I mean, a lot of these younger directors think, old Hollywood, you got to work 16-hour days, and I'll whisper in their ears, oh, by the way, Clint Eastwood does 8-hour days, makes Academy Award nominated movies. Okay, just saying.
Just throwing it out there.
There's so much wasted time on the set.
Oh God!
And I act like an assistant first AD. You have the first AD, but then you got me, and I'll walk on set and go, "What are we waiting for? What's going on?" Just get going. And on Andromeda, we kept Hercules was longer days only because of the locations.
And action too. Action always takes a little time too.
Andromeda, we rarely went out, even though, Stargate was just filming down the road from us where their studio was. But every time, Stargate was always outside, but every planet looked like Vancouver, just beautiful trees like that. So we rarely went outside. We did a lot of green screen. We kept it. We had two big studios that we had My Ship and one. We had the Eureka Morrow and another one. And we did a lot of green screen. And we worked that show, Hercules, including drive time and lifting weights every day. I was 17 to 18 hours door to door. It was a brutal schedule.
Wow.
Andromeda was 12 hours door to door. If they pick me up at 6, I'm home at 6. My crew loved me because that crew had just come off X-Files. And David Duchovny moved X-Files down to LA for the last season or 2 or something.
I remember,
like that. Which created a big stir. He was like, I'm done with Vancouver. And I love Vancouver, by the way. But anyway, my crew loved me because in most 1-hour shows, by your call time at 5 a.m. in the morning on Monday, by Friday, because those 12-hour turnarounds, you're looking at a 5 o'clock in the afternoon start, and you shoot till 8 or 9 Saturday morning. We wrapped virtually every single day between 5 and 7 p.m. every day. My crew was going home every day and having dinner with their family, and they loved me for it after coming off the hellhole that they had on the hours they had on X-Files. So it can be done. And my latest movie, Miracle in East Texas, which will be in theaters next summer. I don't know if you can really see that poster back there.
We can.
I directed it. We got Lou Gossett Jr. We got John Ratzenberger was great. We got Tyler Mane. The WWF fans know who Tyler Mane is. He's a 6'9" dude, but he's also Sabretooth in all the X-Men movies. It's a great, wonderful movie set in 1930. So people look for that when that does come out, Miracle in East Texas, next spring. But that one, we wrapped every day between 10 and 12 hours of shooting at the most. We were outside at a ranch most of the time. We shot in the same location that they shot Revenant, where they shot Unforgiven, where they shot Lonesome Dove, and Open Range with Kevin Costner. So it was a great location, and the crew we had was phenomenal. And there's no reason that you can't, shoot 12-hour days max. There's just no reason. You just got to get people moving and keep things going. I like an AD. I don't want to be the jerk on the set. That's my AD's job. I need an AD who's tough and on top of things. And he's got to be the bad cop. I'll be the good cop. But I've always trusted in everybody that I hire for their departments, from hair and makeup to wardrobe to camera, that you're hired because you know your job better than I do, which of course they do. So, I may have ideas, but I want it to be, as corny as it sounds, I want to be a collaborative effort, which it should be.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
If you had a bird's eye view of a set, I don't care what kind of movie it is, independent, big budget movie, as you know, it's I call it organized chaos. It's crazy with all the people running around and hair people coming up and doing this person and camera guys, lighting guys, and all of a sudden, and action, and then it just becomes that scene. Mm-hmm. Once and cut, and then it goes back into organized chaos again.
I know the second you yell cut, everyone rushes in. It's like this.
It's like all the ants took a break, and then we found a dead animal, and then they just run the dead animal.
So how do you like directing now? I mean, did you direct any Hercules episodes?
I started directing on Hercules. Yeah, I've been DGA now for 24 years, and SAG for over 35 years. So, it's I love it. I think I'm very good at keeping separate the acting part and the directing part. When I'm in the scene, because I'm in the movies I direct as well, I will leave it over to my first AD to do the action and cut. I don't know. I love to film rehearsals because there's some wonderful things that happen in rehearsal.
I do. I love it. If I can, I do it.
How many times have you been on set when the director didn't film it? I go, just shoot it. What? It's digital. Come on. And the camera would have stopped that. Get it on film. Get it on film. Because one thing that bugs me more than anything is if an actor screws up in a line, even if it's me, don't cut. That it shuts the energy down right away. It just shuts it down, And very few directors did that on Andromeda, which is great. You screw up, and I go, go again, go, keep going, boom, and I just get back into that mode and go again. Give me the lead in line, whatever it may be. But keep that energy going, because a lot of times then the DP goes, wait a minute, I just got to fix the light. That's 15 minutes.
They always have to fix a light.
Well, you know what? I think it's perfect for every department. That a friend of mine who is an editor says you can never ever stop editing. You just got to find a place to finally stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You never. A movie's never finished. It's abandoned.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, we're done. Because you sit in that editing room, and thank God it's just as quick as it is today. What it used to be. The cut and paste world. But still, you get in there and you could get glassy-eyed after a while. It's just like.
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I definitely know.
What I will do when I get my first director's cut in is I will bring over about 10 buddies of mine, friends of mine in the industry, and let them watch it and get their thoughts on it. I think it's a smart. And I think every director. Read-throughs are important. Every writer, read-throughs are important to writer scripts, because writers are there and they're 3 a.m. and they're writing, and then they get too close to it, and there can be such major holes in people's scripts that they can't see anymore. You get a bunch of actors that as a writer to read it out loud, and you can hear it out loud, and you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, and make your notes during that. I think it's important.
That's amazing. It's very, very true. I mean, a lot of times when I tell writers as well, like, read the dialogue that you're writing, because it might read well, but when someone says it, not so much.
Those poor writers take the most abuse, and they got the hardest job.
They do.
The hardest job. How do you find a great script? I mean, I've been on the set many times, and I've been guilty of it too, where the actor goes, "Who wrote this crap?" I feel so bad for writers, and actors take enough abuse the way it is, but. It's a tough job. I wrote one episode of Hercules, and we shot it, but I'll never do it again. It's way too much work for me.
And by the way, I mean, you've done so many projects. How do you pick projects? Because I'm assuming you're getting bombarded with opportunities all the time.
It's funny on LinkedIn, kevinsorbo.net, where people can go get a hold of me as well. Mm-hmm. I get 10, 15 scripts a week sent to me. Right. I got to type the same thing over again. I'm only looking for funded projects right now because I've got, I've whittled down down to about 20 that I want to do. And it was 25, but I've done 5 of those so far. The hardest thing is finding funding, of course. It's so frustrating to find money for independent movies. And independent movies are fine with Avengers, fine with Pirates of the Caribbean, fine with these, all these action movies that cost $300 million and they'll spend $100 million promoting it. So they're on their trailers on every football and basketball game and every whatever. I'm doing movies that are $3-4 million. People think that's a lot of money. That's like the catering budget on Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, seriously.
It is.
And I do movies that aren't filled with violence and hate and anger, because that seems the only thing coming out of Hollywood right now. These movies that have such a negative viewpoint and everything's got to be weird and just offbeat. And I like to do movies that people can go to and go, like a Blind Side movie or Green Book, which was an awesome movie.
Well, Soul Surfer. Yeah, Soul Surfer. Movies that have a positive message. Movies that characters. I can never be Hercules in real life. You'll never be Iron Man, okay? But we can be the characters that we see on screen. What made me fall in love with acting was my mom. I'd sit with her when I was a kid, watching Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy and all these wonderful actors that are in that golden age. And I love these movies. And with the humor and the whatever that was in there, I just said, that's, I see actors that had never seen Casablanca, these young kids. You've never seen Casablanca? You've never seen, Lawrence of Arabia, all these great these movies that were just 10 Commandments. I mean, there's so many massive movies out there. And people that get in this business, I think, need to get more educated on the history of the business as well. I think it's just as important. I mean, I was doing a color session years ago with one of the hottest music video directors in the world at the time, and I'm color grading this, and I'm working on this project. I'm like, hey, do you want a little Blade Runner here? And he's like, what's that? And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, you're a music video director, and you haven't studied Ridley Scott, probably one of the greatest commercial and visual storytellers of all time. He's like, no. I'm like, I need to stop the session right now. I'm gonna grab my Blu-ray. We're gonna watch the scene. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I was the old fogey in the room, and I was like 30 something.
Yeah,
it's insane. I just want to touch back really quickly when you're getting all these scripts, because I want to do you a service. So everyone listening, because I know a lot of people are going to try to probably reach out to you because they're all filmmakers and everybody wants to get their projects done. A lot of times when I try to tell people not to do this, they'll reach out to, actors of your stature and with your credibility, your bankability, and they'll go, hey, here's my script. I need a letter of intent to go help find money. Can you explain why that is something? Do you do letters of intent? Is that something? I mean,
if I read the script, I give scripts 20 pages. If the 20 pages still hold my interest, then I'll keep reading it. If it doesn't, I'll move on. Mm-hmm. But I'll do a letter of intent only now if it really has my interest, because almost all these movies come in with no money attached to it.
Right.
And it's frustrating. But if it's a role that really hits me after 20 pages, then I'm interested. I mean, look, I got 3 movies in the can right now. One of them is Miracle in East Texas. They're going to be in theaters next year. Hopefully we get past this COVID ridiculousness that's shutting down the world, ruining people's lives. Mm-hmm. I got a new TV series called The Potwins. It's like a Last Man Standing Tim Allen series. We shot 8 episodes this past July and August in beautiful San Bernardino. And it was Barry Bostwick plays my dad, and it's hilarious. It's very, very funny stuff. We'll see what happens with that. We did 8 episodes. Was that independent? It's independent. It's independent, but Netflix is interested and Fox is interested right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But then I've got 4 movies lined up for next year already. One I'm directing as well. We just got funded for that one. We raised like $4.2 million. But I'd see. It's like every 2 years I'm able to raise this money. I want to be able to do 2 of these movies a year. It's tough out there, guys. And I know people come to me saying, well, I got a nice little independent movie. That's a good, I call them actors' movies. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. When I look for movies now, I want to look for movies that move people. Like you said, like Soul Surfer, like Blind Side, like Green Book, which I thought was amazing. Viggo Mortensen's incredible.
Oh, it's a great book.
I love doing movies like that people go, I know guys like that, or I can relate to that, make you laugh, make you cry. Movies that have hope in them. We have so much anger and hate in our world right now and divisiveness. I want to do movies that hopefully will pull people together and, have a good message in there for anybody and everybody looking for something good. Because I think most people are. I just think the media loves to perpetuate the anger and hate right now. I think most people are good people. And, we just got to find a place where, we can do movies that get made. And I meet very wealthy people. I do a lot of charity golf events.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I meet very wealthy guys, and they can spend $9 million, promoting some candidate for governor or president that doesn't get elected. And they're going, that $9 million, I could have made 2 or 3 really good movies with that would be out there forever. Because that candidate you were just backing, no one remembers who that is anymore. Right. So it's weird. It's weird where we got to fight for the culture now, I think, more than anything else. And that's kind of the movies I want to do, movies with a positive message.
And you also have a book out, right?
I have a book that came out called True Strength that came out about 8 years ago. I finally wrote the follow-up called True Faith. True Strength was born out of in season 5 in Hercules. I was having all kinds of problems with my left arm and my shoulder, and my fingers were cold and numb. I couldn't figure what was going on. I came back to do promotional work I was on Letterman, Leno, doing all the talk shows for Kull the Conquerer. So I went to see my doctor in Beverly Hills there, and he found a lump way up here. Before they could do a biopsy on it, thank God they didn't, it ended up being an aneurysm that had been spitting blood clots down my arm for months. Well, it opened up, sent hundreds of clots to my arm, and unfortunately 4 clots to my brain. I suffered 4 strokes.
Oh my God, man.
So I had another action movie I was going to be doing. I couldn't do it because I couldn't walk anymore. So I had to learn to walk and balance over the next 4 months again. It took me 3 years to fully recover. If you watch the last 2 seasons of Hercules, you can see I lost about 15 pounds of muscle because I wasn't able to work out the way I was working out before. And I went from a 18-hour door-to-door day to about a 3-hour door-to-door over those 2 years, just slowly building myself back up to about 10 hours a day. But it took me 3 full years to recover from it. And True Strength, people can go to kevinsorbo.net and get an autographed copy. It opened a door for me I thought I'd never be doing, which is speaking events. I've had all 12 speaking events here canceled because of COVID. Right. I've done 2 in the last month, fortunately. One back in my home state of Minnesota, and I just did one up in Dallas. I was in Dallas last week. So it's starting to open up again slowly, but it's really about True Strength is sort of a play on words, because in Hercules I had a lot of stunt guys making me look like a stud, right? So I couldn't beat up those guys in real life. So for me, it's like you got to find your own true strength, because everybody's got a story. Everybody's going to have a roadblock in their life, no matter what age you're at, that you got to find out, what am I going to do? Am I going to blame God, family, friends, everybody else? The reality is you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, it happened to me. What am I going to do about it now? And you got to find your own way to get back to living a life again, instead of blaming and crying and whining about it.
Amen, brother. Amen. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker trying to break into the business today?
Go for it. Intern. I mean, don't get paid for it. The heck with it. Get yourself on the set. I tell people all the time, my first acting coach was Bill Traylor at the Loft Studios. They're in LA. His wife, Peggy Furia, died just the year before in a car accident. But he taught me so much in terms of just sticking with it and going for it. But interning is just a way to get yourself on a set. He told me to keep doing the commercials I'm doing. He says, because you're putting in miles. You're getting in front of a camera. Some commercials I talked in, other ones I didn't. I got to be on a beach with a beautiful girl in a bikini selling, orange juice or whatever, But you're on that set and you're doing stuff. I remember an actor in that class kind of made fun of me. You're not a real actor. You're doing commercials. Well, I got a hot date one night. He's my waiter, okay? Because I don't have to wait tables. I got money to be able to go out and have a meal. Do commercials. I'm telling you one thing. Number one, you get your SAG card. Mm-hmm. And number 2, you'll make money. The first 2 years on Hercules, I made less money than I did the previous 3 years that I made on commercial residuals. Because I would, at any given time, I could have 15 checks a day coming in.
That's
whether
amazing.
It was $10 or $1,000, but I would rip open every check while I'm watching Monday Night Football going, this is awesome, And there's money in there, but there's also a chance for you to do the things you want to do to further your career. And so I tell people, get on a set and intern at any position. Watch what people do. Learn that way. Kevin Costner did that at Raleigh Studios. Mm-hmm. He learned what okay, this is what the Carpenters guys are doing. This is what the camera guys are doing. Do you think he's a good director? Yeah, I think he's a damn good director and a damn good actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film business or in life?
I think patience more than anything else. I'm a very impatient person.
Me too.
What I did learn earlier that's kind of ties in with patience as a positive thing against the negative of patience is failure. I used to caddy at this private country club in Minneapolis. Very wealthy guys. Most of the guys I caddy for between 30 and 70, okay? They're all successful guys, all had money. And I would ask them, here I am, this 18, 19-year-old kid carrying double bags, is walking on the fairway. How did you become successful? They all said, Kevin, I failed. And then I failed again. And then I failed again. And then I kept failing. He said, failure is a positive thing, not a negative thing. You gotta get rid of all the bad stuff, but take the positive stuff and drag that along with you, because that's what I learned getting out to Hollywood with all those doors being slammed in your face. Because as I told you, as an actor, you're too young, you're too old, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too whatever. There's always reasons they want to get rid of you. So I just I looked at that as a positive thing. I said, I know every actor. They get in their car and they're chewing on their steering wheel when they're driving the 405. Why the hell did I say it that way? Why didn't I do it this way? Mm-hmm. I got to a point, I just get in the car and said, I did the best I could. If they don't pick me, it's their loss. And that changed a lot for me, just being a lot more positive about it.
Very cool. And last question, what are 3 of your favorite films of all time?
I already named one of them, Casablanca. No question about that one.
Yes.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Great movie.
Jeremiah Johnson is awesome. Okay. And then it's a tough one because there's so many great ones in there. But I'm going to take HUD. It's an earlier Paul Newman movie.
Yeah, I remember HUD.
That's unbelievable. The reason I want to be an actor were Paul Newman and Robert Redford. I've met Redford. Newman passed away, but I have a letter from Paul Newman that's on my wall in my office. And it was great supportive letter, and how he, was a fan of what stuff I've done, and it was just pretty cool. But of course, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and The Sting are pretty darn good too.
They're not bad. They're not bad films. They're not bad films. They're not bad at all. Kevin, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this in this crazy time that we're in. And I appreciate you everything you've done in your career, and a lot of joy that you've brought to a lot of people over the years as well, with all the parts you've done. So thank you again, my friend, and safe travels. I want to thank Kevin for coming on the show and sharing his adventures in Hollywood. Thank you so much, Kevin. If you want to get links to anything we talked about in this episode, including how to reach out to Kevin on his official site and check out other things that he is doing, head over to the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/459. Thank you so much for listening, guys. As always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.